You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
What, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. I feel it. I feel it. You feel it?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup exploring over 60 years of the Doctor Who universe. Hold on tight. You never know where the crew of the TARDIS is going next.
Hey there, Whovians, and welcome to another episode of Earth Station Who. And we've got brand new Doctor Who. That's right. That's right, folks. We are back in episode 1 of season 15 or season 2, depends, what camp you're in. Yeah, exactly.
At this point, there's so many different ways you could count them.
Yeah, who cares?
Exactly. And it's interesting because we have the robot revolution bringing Ncuti Gatwa back as the 15th Doctor, and the new companion. We're introduced to Belinda Chandra, or Miss Belinda Chandra. So it's going to be interesting to talk all about this, and we are going to be spoiling the hell out of this one. So, folks, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, please take us on hold, put us right next to you. We'll sit here and wait until you are done watching this episode.
How exciting! Spoilers!
We're patient on this show. But for everyone else who has
to do.
Exactly. We don't have anything else in life. No, there's nothing going on.
Well, nothing as important, that's for sure.
Not of Doctor Who. God forbid. So, but yes, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about all this. And we've got a great crew to talk with tonight. Of course, let's say howdy to Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy.
And Ms. Mary Ogle is back.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
And playing the role of Melanie Dean tonight is, of course, our friend Dave Chapman.
Hello.
Yes, Dave has officially become our official fill-in role when somebody goes on vacation.
Our guest host.
Our guest host, exactly. So this will be kind of fun. And tonight, of course, Dave will be taking his shot at the Whovian Geek Seat. So it was in his contract. He might not remember that part, but...
Nope, totally did not.
No, of course, it was invisible ink, so it's okay. So we are excited for this episode, so let's jump in with the news real quick. And, of course, we had some sad news to start the story with this week. We have lost a longtime Doctor Who. I guess she appeared in many different roles. At least 3 different roles. And during the classic series, all of them, twice with the first Doctor and once with the 7th Doctor. So we're talking, of course, about Jean Marsh. And Jean Marsh is, to a lot of people, best known on Doctor Who as Sarah Kingdom, who she was a companion for 9 episodes during the first Doctor's era. So, and it was, but she starred in so much more than just Doctor Who. And, if you guys want to jump in and talk about some of the other roles, that'd be great. Wow.
Well, I mean, most notably, she not only starred in, but she co-created Upstairs, Downstairs, which anybody our age knows all too well. I mean, that was a big series. I mean, that was Downton Abbey before Downton Abbey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, the predecessor
in fact,
to it.
It really inspired Downton Abbey in a lot of ways. And yeah, she was a co-creator of that as well. But she did a lot of stage and screen. She's in a very classic first season episode of Twilight Zone. She's in I think that was her first American role, actually, that she did.
Right.
And she was in Willow.
That's where I remember her most from.
Both the movie and I think she made an appearance on the short-lived revival series.
On Disney Plus, yes.
Yep. And she was in Return to Oz, I believe. She played a character there. Yeah, so she did a lot of work, and she was always one that I really appreciated every time I saw her in something because she was always solid. And yeah, it's a shame that she's gone.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. Like you said, I remember her mostly from Willow, other than the Doctor Who stuff that she did, because I remember seeing her as was it Morgan Le Fay in the Seventh Doctor story.
She's Morgaine.
Morgaine, yeah, same character, but so it's pretty interesting to be her when she went up with Sylvester, but she actually appeared in a couple earlier episodes of Doctor Who too. So with Hartnell. So
yeah, she played. I guess she played a character in a storyline, and then later on, when I guess they needed a companion, she was right there. But she, as you said, she was short lived. I really don't know the behind the scenes of what happened, why her arc didn't last longer, why she didn't last longer on the show. Because Lord knows, I can't believe it's her. Because of her acting ability, because she's great. So I don't know, but to be honest with you, I don't even
talked about it at different cons and stuff.
Really remember her. Actually, I don't remember.
You haven't seen that. You haven't seen. You haven't seen the episode with when she played Sarah Kingdom, because that's not available.
Right.
And I know she had a grisly death on the show, but don't want to go into that right now. But it was interesting too, because, when she went up against the Seventh Doctor, and it was a whole Camelot storyline, and that was an amazing story. It featured the Brigadier, it featured, the Seventh Doctor and Ace, and she went head to head with Sylvester's character. It was pretty awesome. And it also was revealed that the Doctor, of course, was Merlin. So,
of course.
Yeah. So, which I would love to see them. Yeah. Or to be Merlin. So that would be great if they could explore that. Would be kind of neat to see. But, rest in peace, Jean Marsh. And you could find a lot of her work on streaming right now. So definitely check it out, folks. Definitely worth it. And other little Big Finish news that ties into that actually a little bit. And it's just coincidence that they announced that Space Security Service is coming out by Big Finish, and as another Doctor Who spinoff. And that's the character Sarah Kingdom was the agency that she worked for, which was like a space police force.
Yeah. Apparently, G. Marsh had done some work with Big Finish. But I don't know. Yeah, she's not in the new series.
She's not in the new one, though.
Yeah.
So it's, it's interesting stuff. And, Big Finish is just continuing to pump out some amazing stuff. So, folks, if you get a chance, check it out. And you never know, we might end up reviewing this one up in the near future. So I think it warrants it in a lot of ways. So rest in peace, Jean Marsh. And I don't think there's other things in the news that we could talk about, like, the Doctor Who Little People and stuff like that. But we don't have to do that right now. Let's do something a little more uplifting and strap Dave down into the geek seat.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dave.
I'm going to be terrible.
No, you're going to be fine. These are right up your alley. These are easy questions for if you're a true Whovian, or as you claim to be. So,
no pressure.
Exactly. If I had a brain that wasn't mush.
Well, that's a whole different story, sir. But you know what? We'll let you see how you do, and good luck. And let's start with the Inquisition. So.
Inquisition, what is it?
It's a song and dance mode. It's perfect. All right. Dave, who was your first Doctor?
My first Doctor was Tom Baker.
Okay. How did you discover it?
I PBS, same as pretty much everybody of our general age.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have the Fourth Doctor and the Tomorrow People in my head as the same show in a lot of things. I'm not sure what memory is which.
Oh, sure. No, they in a lot of ways it almost seemed like there was the same production team who was working on it. So a lot of the effects were pretty much the same. So, all right. Do you remember what your first episode was?
Not a clue.
Not a clue. You just remember the guy with curly hair and big teeth.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't pay that much attention. It was on like I said, it was on at a weird time for me. So it's just sometimes I caught it, sometimes I didn't.
How old were you at the time? Told you these would be interesting questions. Okay. Single digit. So what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Okay.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Yeah,
we'll go
of course. Which doctor would you want to travel with?
Ooh. Ncuti.
Ncuti, really?
Yeah. As long as he gets some chairs.
Yes. He definitely needs chairs in there.
He definitely needs chairs. I'm surprised he doesn't have them yet.
He
still doesn't have chairs. What's up with that?
I know.
You
could always sit on top of the jukebox, but
I mean,
they'll just perch on top of it like the crow.
Exactly. That could work.
Yeah.
What doctor would you not want to travel with?
Sex.
Number one answer.
Yeah, that's the number one answer.
That's what
I have
everybody
no doubt
says.
about it. Now, I'm only counting his TV run when I say that.
Of course. No, totally agree with that. Totally agree with that one. All right, so 6 as it is. And what geeks you out the most about Doctor Who?
The ridiculousness of it.
Okay.
The unadulterated joy, no matter what we're facing. There's always a little bit of humor underneath it, or that if not that episode, then the next episode.
Right.
We still get we got a Mog in Orphan 55. The best character in there, hyphen with 3. There's still some of that old school production value that creeps into even the modern Who.
Right. No, that totally makes sense. What turns your geek off about Doctor Who?
The fans right now.
Number one
I'm
answer.
going to put big giant air quotes around fans.
They're not fans. They're haters.
No, they're not.
No.
Exactly. The haters in the fandom are just the worst.
No, agreed. And as we always like to say on the show, if you don't like what's happening on Doctor Who, just stick around. It's going to change again.
Exactly.
So, no, good question. Good answer. What Doctor Who companion would you like to meet the most?
Ace.
What about her?
It doesn't matter which version of Ace you get. She's just such a strong, fascinating character. Whether it's 16-year-old Ace that's crazy bomber girl, or if it's modern Ace running a multi-million-dollar charity out of a tower, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
She's still just a fascinating character
Nope.
and such a strong performer. And Sophie's also just delightful. It's hard to separate Sophie from Ace.
It's kind of interchangeable nowadays.
Pretty much.
Although if you see either one of them with a baseball bat,
yes.
Yeah, that might not be the best time to approach.
It's true. It's true.
Which Doctor Who villain would you like to meet the least?
Ooh. The Skithra.
The Skithra. Do tell.
I'm not a big, either that or the giant spider from Arachnids in the UK, but it's either giant spiders or giant scorpions. Pick one. I'm not a big arachnid fan.
I could tell.
Yeah,
I could tell on that one. All right. What was your favorite Doctor Who geek out moment?
50th anniversary.
Really?
Just kind of the whole thing. Getting to see, actually, the biggest part of that whole celebration, my favorite part would have been Night of the Doctor with the little 10-minute 8th Doctor webisode.
Oh, you're asking for a doctor, but it might not be the one you were expecting.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Introducing John Hurt was wonderful. It's John Hurt.
Yeah.
He was fabulous in everything he did.
No, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Very cool, my friend. What was your most disappointing Doctor Who geek out moment? We're making you think a little bit. Sorry.
We are. I'm gonna say, and I have softened this opinion recently, but I'm gonna say basically just Jodie's era.
Really?
The whole era. Not because it wasn't good, because as I've been rewatching it here, and some of the worst stuff wasn't even Chibnall who we blame for it.
I was going to say, the clock is ticking.
Yep.
I was going to say, there we go. Had to get it in there somewhere.
The Chibnall bashing is, the clock ticking is ticking. The Chibnall clock.
But honestly, there was so much of that was, I appreciate what he tried to do, and he just kind of failed.
Right.
Or dropped a lot of balls.
He had a lot of great ideas, but they just didn't come to fruition.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. That does count as a Chibnall bash, by the way.
Totally. As it should.
As it should. As it should. Awesome.
A slightly soft one, though.
All right. Dave.
Softcore
Chibnall. A softcore one. Softcore Chibnall bash. That's a whole new category on itself right there. And that's pictures I just don't even want to think about. Okay, there. All right, Dave, you ready for your final question in the Geek Seat?
Never.
All right, your final question, my friend. What or who would you like to see on Doctor Who?
Charlie Cox.
Really? Daredevil?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I'd like to see him. I mean, he is British.
Yes, he is.
He is.
For those who don't know,
would you want to see him as a doctor, or as a villain, or just a character in one of the stories?
He would
I
make
think
a
just
cool
a character, or maybe a companion. I don't know if I could see him as a doctor, but that would depend very much on where they went with.
Just don't get him in a hallway. Just don't get him in a hallway. That's it.
Just don't put. All of a sudden, the TARDIS is just a hallway.
Yeah, exactly.
At the far end, you can see the control room, but there's a giant hallway.
Yes,
he would take that Venusian jujitsu to a whole different level.
Those Daleks and Cybermen don't stand a chance. No,
that would be
comic relief. You have my full permission to take that and run with it.
Oh, very much so. Oh, that would be awesome. Well, Dave, good news. You've made it through the Geek Seat. Congratulations.
Woo!
Woohoo!
I didn't embarrass myself horribly.
Well, yeah.
Not horribly.
Well, points for being soft on Chibnall, but otherwise, good marks, my friend. Good marks.
Soft core on Chibnall.
No, don't say that. That's not the word I used.
Okay, Mr. Mike Gordon, tell the young man what he's won.
He's won a trip of a lifetime.
Oh, exactly. As all lifetimes should be. There you go.
As all Doctor Who fans,
the airlock.
as all Doctor Who fans get a trip of a lifetime.
I am going to be bleaching my brain after this, so yes.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Oh, and now he's singing. Okay, folks. If you want to take a shot at the Geek Seat, we would love to have you. If you want to sit in with us for an episode, we would love to have you join us for the whole thing. Please write us. Feedback at earthstationwho.com would be the best way to do it. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a moment, and we are diving all into Robot Revolution. What if you could bring 3 experienced producers into your home each week to discuss your favorite movies and the people that made them? That's Tales from Hollywoodland. Your hosts, Arthur, Julian, and Steve, collectively have years of showbiz producing experience. Their weekly show is a fast-paced, fun, and very conversational experience, like spending a good time with your best movie-loving friends and family. Tales from Hollywoodland is available wherever fine podcasts are found. See you at the movies. Welcome back. Now we're diving all into the robot revolution, featuring Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor and, of course, his new companion. We are welcoming, of course, to the show the wonderful, amazing Belinda Chandra. And it's interesting. I don't know what I was expecting. I was just hoping not for another Space Babies.
Oh, thank God it wasn't Space Babies.
And I think...
it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't Space Babies.
No.
I don't think there's, I think it's hard pressed to say a perfect episode anymore, and, I'm hoping for it still, but I was very happy. I've watched it twice already, and I liked it more the second time, even more, because I was able to catch little things and make me go, And those who are watching us on video get to see me stroke the beard. It's awesome. Exactly. So it's pretty cool to be able to do. Let's get some initial thoughts from the crew. Dave, you're our co-host for this evening. What do you think?
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Okay.
Do you want my rating or just
ratings are later.
Okay.
It's like your initial thoughts.
Your initial thoughts.
I think there was some editing problems.
Okay.
Like I think that a lot of important tiny details and may have landed on the cutting room floor in the same way that some of the stuff did in Ant-Man Quantumania.
Okay.
Where they would refer to certain things in the show that didn't really come up. For example, Belinda knowing what the TARDIS was.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's your TARDIS. He never told her it was a TARDIS. I'm guessing that came out of like their little mind meld thing that happened. I loved those effects, by the way.
Yes. That was
there were two things that happened like that, and I got them in my notes too. But go ahead. Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't know if it was a mistake. You never know if these are mistakes or if they're leading somewhere. Right. So
yeah.
That's a big one, though. Like, that's one that I have too much respect for, even on a bad day, RTD, to not make that big of a gaffe.
Yeah, that's why I wonder if it's a mistake. Mistake in
like
quotes,
an editing mistake as opposed to a writing mistake. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or even a mistake at all. If it's just a plan of something.
Or possibly, and that's the other thing, is it could well be plans, because there's definitely a lot being planted here.
Well, especially with the time whoosh, as they call it.
Yes, the swoop.
Yeah.
The swoop.
The timey-wimey, what am I, 6?
Yeah.
Love that. Some great one-liners. I love that it looks like I'm assuming we're going to get a 2-part finale, because that's what the date lands on the calendar, on the screen.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that would be about that. I mean, RTD does that, so I mean that's right in his wheelhouse. I mean,
exactly. So those are the initial thoughts.
Okay. All right, Mary, what about you?
I liked it overall.
Okay.
There are some plot holes, as there always are, and some sort of RTD cop-outs.
I was going to say, are we RTD bashing now already?
Yeah, no, not really. We're just acknowledging RTD is what he is. But I liked it overall. I liked it way better than Space Babies. It was a much better first episode of the season. I think it was a decent introduction for Miss Belinda Chandra, and who would hit me for calling her Miss.
Oh, I know.
But so I think I'm not sure I'd say he hit it out of the park, but it was a decent, solid start to the season.
Okay, Mikey, initial thoughts.
Yeah, I'm with that. For an RTD episode, it was solid. There's a lot to like here, and there's some things that could have been done better, to Dave's point and Mary's point. Some things that were kind of mishandled, but overall, I appreciated what was important. I think was the introduction of Belinda, and there were 2 scenes in particular between Belinda and the Doctor that really, really worked for me. At the beginning, I got this didn't hurt her chances at all for getting in my good graces as a companion, but I got a Martha Jones vibe from her.
Oh, big time.
And I liked the sort of things that she was doing, towards the end, sprinkled throughout, but really at the end, where she's kind of pushing back in a way that we haven't seen much of companions do, which was nice, especially since Ncuti is not, an overbearing doctor or personality. I mean, a personality maybe, but as far as like, he's not like, he seems to be doing all the right things, and yet there's a couple things he does here that are not cool. And I like the fact that, she calls him on it. And I really liked her as a character. I think it's a strong debut for her.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't, there's a couple things, I know we'll talk about them. There's a couple things obviously that are leading towards the season arc, right? The big mythology of the show, but they're not really like, they're just kind of there, but they're not really dependent. I mean, they're not really focused on as much. And pretty much this is an episode that you can just watch and have fun with. The visuals are amazing in this. The design, from the design of the robots to the ships to the even the little polish robot. Like, there's just like
I
a lot of
polish. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Polish.
The way that the deaths were handled, like they just looked everything looked visually so great. So it had they really knocked it out of the park that way, I think. And
even just how they did the X-rays when they held on the blanket.
Oh yeah, the blanket.
It was a very nice touch.
Oh, I loved
very
it.
Nice touch.
And I loved
very
it when
cool
he held up the blanket and saw the two hearts. And
yeah, interestingly, that the blanket designates which one is heart 1 and heart 2. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, they're not just hearts; they're like 1 and 2. And I thought that was an interesting thing that they did there. I liked it overall. I mean, we could compare it to a lot of first episodes or whatever, and I'm not really interested in doing that as much as I just really am excited to have this show back and on a good note. And right now I'm ready. I'm like, I'm on board. This is my crew for the season, and I'm there.
And we had no booger monster, which was great.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Monster at the end, kind of.
Hey, there's a gross thing at the end, though.
Well, yes, there was.
RTD just can't help himself, and we get that. Once like that you're playing or that you're in his sandbox, it's like, okay, like I'm used to RTD stuff by now, that I'm just like, okay, this is what he does, and I'm good with it. So I'm not really.
And that was so quick. I mean, they didn't like harp on it.
No, they didn't harp on it.
No,
and polish took care of it.
They just polish, cleaned it right up.
Exactly.
Polished it right up.
Exactly. So yeah, I did like
MVP
it.
of the
I
episode,
thought
right?
it was a great introduction episode for the new companion. I did get a Martha vibe from her at the beginning, but then I started getting a Donna vibe when she started standing up to the doctor, and especially when the doctor did the DNA reading on her, and it's like without even asking her, because he's so used to just doing it, and and she took offense to it, and she said, "Hey, buddy, you can't do that without asking," and I thought that was awesome. I thought it was great that it's not going to be a nice, "Oh, doctor, you're awesome, you're great." She's going to call the doctor on his BS, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, especially when a lot of times the doctor knows he's doing stuff that he shouldn't be doing.
Right.
But here, Ncuti plays it as if he's generally like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. And so I really like that aspect of him. That aspect of that.
He actually took ownership of it for a change.
Exactly.
Instead of just glossing over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I didn't care for the whole thing that they had to tie it in to her descendant 3,000 years later. That it could have been two different characters. It didn't have to be anyone who is related or such.
Yeah, I think that was the internet influencing him there, because everyone's like, "Oh, is it going to be? What's it going to be? What's it going to be?"
The trolls,
right?
Well, there's that, and there's also, we don't know where her story's going, so that could lead to where her story's going, and look, if that's a Moffat design thing, color me interested.
Yeah. but also the same thing though is they tried doing that in the Moffat era, if you remember, with Danny Pink and his descendant, and Danny Pink was killed, before he was able to sire children. So
yeah, well, that was very Stephen Moffat not caring
exactly
about that.
Yeah.
I did like the whole idea of Belinda being kidnapped. The poor cat. The poor cat. Why did they have to kill the cat?
Cats are
value.
Cats are never irrelevant.
Nope, exactly. So agreed.
Trust me on that. That was disappointing, RTD. I did not care for that.
But it was interesting. The character of Alan was a dud. And him being the AI or the owl, and everything, that was kind of dumb. I didn't like that part. That was the weakest part of the story for me.
His character was a pretty weak character
to begin with.
Within the world, not just written.
I mean, he's supposed to be
definitely weak.
He's supposed to be a weak character.
Yeah.
I thought the actor did a great job.
Oh,
the look of the villain was, I thought, like, as the AI or whatever you want to call him at the end, was incredible. I thought, like, he had the look and everything. Working this robot revolution into, like, this whole planet thing into a in-your-face metaphor for, what is it? Coercive control?
Mm-hmm.
Coercive control?
Coercive
control, right?
Yeah.
Was clunky at best. Like, it was not RTD's finest hour. Interesting concept, but it could have been handled much better. It was very clunky. And this just gives those people who are upset about, wokeness or whatever, like, fodder because he didn't handle it right. Like, if he had handled it better, and if it was not mishandled here, and if it was a lot smoother, then it would have been a great message and a great story. But because he mishandles it, it gives all his critics like something to point at and be like, see, that's the problem.
Right.
It's not the problem, it's just the fact that he handled it wrong here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Not that the fact that he tried to do it.
No, I agree. Overall, I thought the story moved very smoothly. It flew by. It really flew by. That's why I had to watch it a second time, because I felt like I had missed stuff, but I didn't. I actually gained stuff. And it was interesting. I loved the whole nine words. That was brilliant. Once you figured out what he was doing, that was just genius. I loved that whole part of the story. And I was like, literally, both Judy and I, when we were watching it the first time, we were counting along on our fingers and everything.
Sorry, Mike, I just have to disagree with you there, because I thought that was kind of dumb.
There
was no real reason for it. I thought it was kind of like silly. But I mean, it was used well, but I just didn't. I was like, it made no sense to me. It was one of those RTD things that he puts in there that makes no sense. But the way they filmed it was cool.
No, I thought I have to disagree. So we'll disagree on that one, my friend. But it was interesting. I liked that, and I liked the doctor's reaction, because he had gotten there 6 months before, so he could become the historian of the group. And he
didn't plan that.
No,
he ended up there 6 months
because the swoosh
early.
Yeah. But he built in, and he started making relationships and making inroads with the rebellion. And I felt bad for him when his companion at the time got killed. Right,
Sasha 55.
Exactly, and that was awesome. And
R.I.P.
Of course, it gave Ncuti a chance to cry, so it was perfect.
17 minutes in the new season, and he's crying.
I think it's in his contract; he has to do that at least once an episode.
So I'm like, yeah. There are definitely moments in this where I'm like, the people who are quote unquote haters, here's their flags, right? 17 minutes in, he says he's crying, so I'm like, there's one, and then a few minutes after that, the doctor admits that he's searching for her, Chandra because she's important, and I'm like, oh, that's one that people are going to jump on because she's the most important being now. And then of course later on when they kind of mess up the whole like boyfriend control thing, and I'm like, there's a few things here that I mean, I give credit for RTD. He's like, I'm not changing.
Yeah.
like I'm still going to do this stuff. So you can criticize and yell all you want and hate me all you want and hate the show all you want, but I'm still me, man.
But but the thing is, they didn't say why the doctor went to the hospital looking for her at the very beginning of the episode.
They did. He was conscious. He was looking for her because someone who we don't know yet told him that she would be important and that he had to find her. He admits that. He said, he told me your name, that you would be important.
Exactly.
And so that's why he was after her. We don't know who
or what.
But
yes. Who knows? So yeah, it's interesting with that, but it also, the doctor probably is known as a mass murderer now again because he basically shut off the whole power at the hospital and everyone who was on life support there.
Yeah, I would like to think that he stayed behind and fixed things. That's why he was late to go to her apartment.
That's what we'll tell ourselves anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so emergency power would have kicked in.
Yeah, at the cost of the cat, he was late and arriving. That's what I'm telling myself. That the doctor didn't kill a lot.
That being said, that God help him if she finds out about that, for one thing.
Yep.
Because then she'll really rip into him. But that kind of goes to him being a bit reckless, and especially this iteration of him being a little bit more reckless, which he gets called out for later, even not knowing what happened at the hospital.
Right.
So I'm hoping that will get brought back in and used as a character building point rather than the just disaster. Why did you do that, RTD? Moment that could have been.
Exactly. I saw the power going out in the hospital, and Judy and I looked at each other, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I think they really should have added a scene there just to let us know that the doctor is not killing everybody.
Have him aim the screwdriver at something and flip it back on.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Him going, oops.
When you say that RTD did the coercive control thing wrong, what do you mean? Do you mean he just didn't spend enough time on it or explain it enough, or what is it about it that bothers you?
I just thought it was really clunky. I mean, he actually had to say the words out loud in order for us to make that connection.
Okay.
And then he had to go back in time and show us that this guy was like this prior to him being abducted and being a bad guy. He was a villain really kind of all along. And he kind of, they kind of structure the story that way. So we don't get to see that. And it just sort of pops out of nowhere. And to Mike's point,
can I?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I just want to stop you there just for a second because of what you just said, that it kind of came out of nowhere.
It didn't come out of nowhere.
I think if you're a woman, that did not come out of nowhere at all. That is something that every single woman, I can guarantee you, probably on this earth has met this guy. And a lot of them have been coerced by this guy. And even in the beginning with, she's totally on board with him, even though he's saying horrible things to her in the beginning. She's just nodding her head and going along with it. Mm-hmm. And that luckily she figures it out a year later by the time he's proposed to her and she dumps his ass. But this is a universal thing that women experience. So, and I mean, now I'll agree with you. It was clunky. He did not, it could have been done in a better way. But I think it depends on your point of view.
Right. Well, I accept that. But I do think because the scenes in the beginning, I think are there that you can recognize it. You get this sort of, because she seems uncomfortable when he goes in for the kiss. But right there in the beginning, he doesn't do anything that's too too much. It's the flashback later that we find out he did all this stuff, proposed.
Oh no, he does something terrible right at the beginning.
Oh, yes,
he says
he does.
Girls are not good at math.
Exactly, right off the bat.
I missed that. Sorry,
Yeah.
I completely missed that.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, what a jackass when he said that.
Yeah, sorry, I completely missed that. That's my bad.
No, he was a jerk right from the very beginning, and and it was just like when she dumped him, and Judy was like, "Good for her, go, you don't need that loser." And of course, he pops up again later. Of course. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we don't see her dump him until the flashback. Like, I don't know. I would almost preferred that scene, instead of being a flashback, we see all of that in the beginning.
It would have brought some.
Maybe, I don't know. But then, having him expand his relationship to her and all women, whatever, to a whole planet. Like I said, it's a big swing, and I just don't think RTD nailed it. I just don't think so. There should have been.
Well, I'm not. Well, I mean, I sort of agree with you, and I don't agree with you, because I know that sounds not very coherent, but it
sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's because that kind of control freak thing, like, it's established that he wants to control her. In fact, his whole plan is to subsume her. Exactly. He wants to merge with her until
Mm-hmm.
her identity is completely obliterated into his.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And now I agree with you that they tried to put too much into a small amount of time. Mm-hmm. And so it got clunky. And I think that actually goes to Dave's point, where there may be things that got cut out of the episode that are missing, that aren't explained as well. Actually, I kind of agree with you, Mike, that the flashback wasn't the greatest idea. They didn't need a flashback. They could have showed that in the beginning.
I think also to Mike's point that they gave us this sort of swerve about an AI rather than being revealed as the guy all along. I think that was not necessary either, because that turned Mike off. He said, he thought that was dumb. And
I did say that, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And that's a dumb thing we can agree on.
Exactly.
We
agree on a lot of dumb things, so it's okay.
Yeah. So I think that was another clunky thing. So it was not necessary to swerve us that way. There
was one part that I did like about the AI thing. Once it was revealed, and I agree, I didn't really like it as a general rule, but he had a screwed up hand, because AI is terrible at doing hands.
I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice that either. I didn't notice that either.
His one hand was all bit, looked like it was out of Wild Blue Yonder, kind of
that's
too big.
That's the other thing, Dave. Though it's like either like there's not enough time. And it's not necessary to do the swerve, to do it like, hey, AI is bad, and we're going to talk about how bad AI can be, and then say, like, pull the rug and say, oh no, it's not really about that. It's not really about AI. It's about this guy. It's like,
the whole trying to cram too many ideas into a short amount of time.
It was ambitious, but they did too much into the little time.
And that part I'll agree with you. That part was clunky.
Now, what did you guys think of the two pieces of paper, and from the same pieces of paper from different eras?
The star thing.
Yeah, the star title.
Just RTD logic that doesn't make sense, but there it is.
Yeah. And then it shows up again at the end as well.
Yeah,
like
with two pieces of it.
Yeah,
with two pieces, with two things that matter, like two things at a time can't exist without an explosion. I'm like, we've watched this show for a long time, RTD. We know that that's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
it is true, but only when they want it to be.
Right, exactly. They've said
it's
it
also
many
not
times.
true when they don't want it
right.
to be.
So. Exactly.
It's a convenient plot device.
It is, and it's just
except
RTD.
when it's not. Yeah.
It's just RTD. Like
exactly. Except for when it wants to turn something to.
Well, that's not even RTD. That's like Doctor Who from the beginning. They were using that trick whenever they wanted to.
At least they didn't reverse the polarity to fix it.
Yeah, but it is an RTD trait though, that he just doesn't care about like he uses like here he's actually attempting to use time travel in an interesting way, But all he does is kind of hand wave it and be like, well, sometimes you go back a week, and sometimes you go back 6 months, and sometimes you go back 10 years. Like, it just doesn't like it. And I don't care about it. Just the way this, like, it's just the way it is. So I don't really feel the need to, because that's not really what the episode's about. The episode's really about this. And so I don't really care about that stuff. Whereas someone like, Stephen Moffat really cares about like how to mess with time travel and do interesting things with it. RTD's like, well, it's a time travel show, but I'm not really interested in the specifics of it.
Well, I agree with you there. I mean, Moffat's kind of the master of nonlinear storytelling, and RTD is not.
Right.
And it's not that he's a bad writer; it's just that that's not his thing.
That's not his thing.
And yeah, he shows it here that is not his thing.
So I do want to point out, though, because I do want to give RTD so much credit, because what is his thing is creating characters and having them interact in interesting ways. And there are two sequences that I thought like really sold me on this episode. And what the episode where, after the Doctor saves the rebels attack, the Doctor saves Chandra, and they go to their hideout or whatever, and then they have that sort of sequence where she's helping people and she's learning about, alien life form. And she has that great line. There's that great exchange between them when she finds out that this guy's got different physiology. And she asks, is that better or worse than humans? And the Doctor says, if you start deciding which body is best, you're going down a very dangerous path. And she agrees. They kind of laugh about it. It's a beautiful moment, a beautiful Doctor Who moment.
It was very well written in that part.
The Doctor shows off his two hearts, which he doesn't usually do. And it's just, I think it's great. And then we get that scene where they kind of connect. And then you contrast that with the scene at the end where, she gets angry at him. First, she calls him dangerous because of the people that are around her. She's seen it firsthand, that people around him die, and that he's reckless, and that he takes it upon himself to do things that without permission that he shouldn't be doing. She doesn't want to travel with him. She's not a companion that's like, let's go. She's like, take me home now. And I love both of those scenes. Both actors have chemistry. They nailed those two scenes. And that's what really compels me going forward to the season, because I can't wait to see more scenes of them acting together. The one other thing, Dave, that I will say, because you pointed out that, she knows it's a TARDIS before she should. She also says when she gets in the TARDIS, she asks specifically to go to May 25th, 2025, before she knows it's a time machine.
Yes.
And I'm
it's
like,
what?
Yeah, I'm like, why is she asking to go back to this specific date? And then the Doctor tells, so I don't know if that's an editing thing, a writing thing. It seems very sloppy. But
that seems like a foreshadowing thing to me. I noticed those things too.
Yeah.
I think I glazed over that just because they had already kind of discussed that it's at least a spaceship, if not a time ship, and that there's a time fracture out there that was able to get him changing times. So I think I kind of glazed over that in that kind of a context. Also, he says he fixed that. He said he fixed fracture.
Yeah, because when he says that later, because when they're bouncing,
I don't remember him actually doing that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, we don't see that.
Well, maybe that's what caused the explosion of Earth at the very end.
I don't know how he could that was something to fix. I just thought that was I don't know. It's more RTD hand waving to me.
Yeah.
Just like at the end, do we need to see like all these recognizable things floating in space before we realize?
Apparently we do, because I'm sure that's going to be part of the ongoing. RTD is not known for his subtlety.
Yes, that was not subtle at all. I'm like, okay, Statue of Liberty, that's cool. And then it's like, the Eiffel Tower. Okay, there's another one. Oh, a pyramid. Okay, and then a calendar as far as the date. And I'm kind of like, okay, RTD, we
got it.
We understand. So now we know that the Earth is going to be destroyed unless something happens between the Doctor, and that Belinda Chandra is like part of it. I like that he calls her Belle right away, and she doesn't bark at it. I like the fact that they're comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm. And she'll
And,
in return she'll call him Doc, and he'll go, "No, Doctor."
Yeah.
So
the other sequence, yeah, in that scene too, where she says that, you know, you're just like a doctor, like, you know, you stand by while the nurses do all the work. I mean, there's that pushback, as Dave pointed out, there's that pushback relationship that they have that I think I'm going to really enjoy. And it's not like, you know, like Mike, you mentioned, it's a lot like Donna, but Donna would yell it in his face.
of course.
she's
I did
a
not
little
like
bit
Donna. I
What?
like Belinda. I did not like Donna.
I did
I've
not
never
either.
liked Donna, but I like Belinda. So I think
I do too.
that's a thing.
I like her too. So I think
I love Donna and Belinda.
Yeah,
I do
and
too.
Martha.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they all have sort of similar things going on, and at least in the sense that they would challenge the Doctor.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I
Now-
always like that dynamic.
All
I
right.
think it's, again, the haters kind of just grabbing onto information that's out there that they think they can see things that aren't there. But I wanted to bring it up to you guys because I did not notice this at all. I saw a critique that said that Ncuti seemed to be phoning it in this episode. I did not. I did
never
not
felt
experience that at all.
No.
As I
No.
pointed out, there were scenes that I
No.
thought were brilliant. I will say that I did think that there was a couple occasions where I thought that Ncuti was doing the opposite. He was trying like too hard to go over. Like there's a scene at the end where he's shuffling Belinda into the TARDIS, and he's going, "Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go." And I'm kind of like, Ncuti, I don't think that's really necessary. Like I would not have used that take. It just seemed like it was just weird, like a little bit over
Extra
the top.
goofy.
But I did not, you know, I think a lot of people are thinking that he's already moved on from this role. And look, when he sees the TARDIS again, and you just see it in his eyes, he is like, my baby's back. He goes inside and he looks like he owns the thing, and it's just his home. And so I get no, there's no display of any sort of boredom or whatever you want to call it on Ncuti's part here. I think he still owns this role very much.
No,
So.
very much so. And I think I feel like he's even more comfortable in the role now
I agree with that.
than he, last season. So, haters will just hate. All right.
Yeah.
One thing we have not brought up yet. And
I know what it's on my notes too.
Yep. Let's talk about Mrs. Flood.
Mrs. Flood.
Breaking the fourth wall.
Again.
I loved it because it really established that no, this is not the same house. Belinda is not like the other side of Mrs. Flood from Ruby.
We're all in the same neighborhood.
Oh, she saw the Doctor. She scuttled away.
You didn't.
It's like, I'm not supposed to be.
Yeah,
he's not supposed to know that I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that actually worked really well. And I love she plays the doddering old fool so well.
Yeah.
You're about to be abducted by robots, dear. Enjoy.
Yeah, she has she's like, tell my parents I love them. I'm like, she is not going to tell your parents anything.
No.
No.
She is not going to tell the owner of that cat anything.
No.
She's just going to
And
be
if she
like,
does, they won't believe her because they'll think she's nuts.
Exactly.
She's great.
Just crazy Mrs. Flood next
There's
door.
nothing to go on here as far as who she is or what she's going to bring to the table this season. We know that she's going to be part of the season, but she's there, and we'll just see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. And everyone has their theories on who she is and such, but
There's a lot of them out there.
Oh, there are so many. Any female character you've ever seen on Doctor Who
Yes.
Or male.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been like, I've seen all sorts of theories, and
Yeah.
there's not enough to go on. I mean,
Admit
Michelle
it,
asked me.
Admit it, Mike. You want it to be Adric.
I do not. There's a number of characters I don't want her to be.
Mike's dark secret.
Michelle asked me if she was a good guy, and I said I do not think so, because we saw her doing some things that were not good in the
A little
finale.
bit questionable.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So I do not think so. Is she out and out like villain? Is she going to be the big bad this season? I don't know. I will say that I will be very, the one huge one out there is that she's the master, and I am not on board with that reveal either. I do not.
I don't want her to be the master.
Someone said she has a gold tooth, and I didn't notice it.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
I just saw a random post about it,
it could have been Photoshop.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, but I like it best in the show's history. And look, you can mark this down, this date and this recording time, because I'm going to give Chibnall credit here for doing one thing right during his run. Is that the thing I love about the Master is that when he's revealed and we don't expect it, like all of a sudden some character that we've seen or that we were introduced to for one thing, all of a sudden, whoop, like, oh, it's the Master, like, and I thought that during
this is all part of my master plan.
I mean, those times where there was when Moffat did it with Missy, that was a lead up, and that was the one lead up that I think worked. And that's because Michelle Gomez is freaking brilliant. And anytime she's on screen, yes, please. But as far as this being like this slow reveal that it's the Master, that won't work for me at all. So take somebody else that I'm not expecting, and all of a sudden, pop, that's the Master. That I will love. And like I said, I thought Chibnall did a great job with introducing the Master. After that, I think, as Mary said, fumbled the ball. Dave said he fumbled the ball on a lot of things, but I do not think that I hope she's not the Master. Whether or not she is or not remains to be seen, but I hope that that's not the case.
Yeah, I kind of doubt she is. I'm still wondering because there's been some clues that they might be trapped in some sort of virtual reality. And that's going to be revealed at some point. And that she's somehow, Mrs. Flood is connected to that. She's the host, or she's the one he's running it, or
she's the
whatever,
Ronnie.
or the avatar that's sent there to watch over them.
The Ronnie overlooking it.
She addresses the audience directly a lot.
Yes.
And that
that suggests the virtual reality theory.
There's some sort of like, she's some sort of like story themed entity.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Which plays into the pantheon of gods or figures or whatever characters that that were set up last season. So I do find that is more likely, but who knows?
Yeah,
exactly, who knows. All right, any final thoughts before we go ahead and rate this one? Okay. Dave,
I've got through my notes.
Yeah, Dave, go ahead.
I got through
1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best.
3.75.
Okay. Any explanation or just
minor imperfections? I really did enjoy it, but it was far from a perfect episode. I'm very excited for the season. I think it was, like I said, it wasn't a bad episode. There was enough little things to bring it down a bit.
Cool. All right. Mary.
I'm going to give it a 4. I did really enjoy it. And also, to be honest, I'm kind of grading on a curve because RTD's first episodes are usually not great. And this one was definitely one of the better ones. Mm-hmm. And so, and I really enjoy already the relationship between Belinda and the Doctor. I mean, that was set up really well. I mean, I'm totally on board for them being the TARDIS team. Mm-hmm. And so that alone, I'm going to give it a 4.
Okie doke. Mikey.
I'm going to go 4 as well. Despite the fact that some of it was clunky, I think RTD hit it out of the park on a number of other things. And the most important thing was introducing us to Belinda and having that relationship form and having me be on board. This is a team TARDIS of 2 that right now that I am excited to see interact as they go forward. And add to that, I just love the retro design of the robots and the ships. Give me those toys. Give me those toys.
Oh, I would love a toy of the polish would have been great. But the robots,
although it would kind of get annoying after a while.
Oh, yeah.
Name your next Roomba.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Polish, exactly. And I'm going to give it a 4 also. I loved how powerful Ncuti was in this one. I don't think he was phoning it in by any means. I think he's getting more and more comfortable being the Doctor. I think he is fitting nicely into the role. And Verada was great as, Belinda. I thought she did, a great first outing. And we have, this is the first time we've ever gotten a non-Caucasian TARDIS crew. And which is wonderful to see. And I'm sure.
Yeah, where's the old white guy? Where's Graham?
Well, exactly.
Yeah, where's Graham?
Where's Graham?
The ghost of Graham is looming.
But it's interesting too because it just gives the haters something else. Oh, these aren't the companion or the Doctor that I want to see.
They're looking at the wrong thing.
We saw actually. I don't know if you noticed it, Mike. When we were at South Carolina, we saw a lot of that.
Yeah, we did. That was sad when we were asking. People came up to us dressed as Doctor. There was no Ncuti cosplay at Greenville
at all. No,
at all.
We were very happy to see a lot of Whovians at the con. We saw some amazing Jodie cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a couple 10s. We saw a couple 5s. And we also saw 1 or 2 4s. And
the guy who's usually 12 didn't show up this year.
He was there. He just was not dressed as the Doctor this year.
Oh, because man, he's always spot on.
Oh, I think he doesn't have to do anything. He just looks like Capaldi.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty awesome. Thank you of course, to the folks at Borderlands Comics and South Carolina Comic Con for inviting us back again. And we're looking forward to hopefully enjoying it into the future. But some good news is we got another piece of email from our listeners.
That's not stupid.
That is definitely not stupid.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And let's say hey to our friend Elizabeth Laney. Thank you. She's been with us since the very beginning. And, she's stuck with us. Thank you. Dear ESW crew, greetings and salutations. It's great to be back with you all for the new season. It feels a little weird to be getting Doctor Who so regularly, but I'm here for it. I enjoyed our introduction to the new companion, Ms. Belinda Chandra. I think she's going to be an interesting addition to the TARDIS, and I love how she called the Doctor out in this episode. I did feel like I was watching the weird amalgamation of Doctor Who episodes throughout. At the beginning of the hospital, it was very Smith and Jones meets Partners in Crime, while the robots reminded me of dinosaurs on a spaceship. And the Doctor's proclamation that Belinda was a very important person just made me shiver, remembering the years of Clara's Impossible Girl.
Yeah.
My own personal rating would be 3 out of 5 TARDISes. I enjoyed the episode and loved the Doctor and Belinda, but thought the story was unexceptional and not very well developed. As a historian, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I greatly enjoyed the line, "You are the historian. You will witness events, not participate." Not sure I agree with that statement in this day and age, but working towards an unbiased view of the past is certainly the goal of most historians. Still, it's going to be on my list of favorite Doctor Who quotes for next to Rory's dad's quote about always carrying a towel and the 10th Doctor's, "I'm a time traveler. I point and laughed at archaeologists." You know what else I've been enjoying? The Doctor Who YouTube channel. They have some great content. I particularly love the episode of Doctor Who's Unleashed, and they released from the previous seasons ahead of the new season. Take care, ESW crew. Friend of the station, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yay,
that was wonderful. That was wonderful.
That's a long
we appreciate
time.
you.
We do appreciate you so very, very much. And we would love to hear from you guys at home. Please, feedback at earthstationwho.com would be the best way to get in touch with us. And if you stayed with us this long already, please get a chance, like and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. And, if you hit the like button, that helps YouTube and your podcast aggregator. Let them know that you guys are listening and, gets our numbers up, gets our, fits into whatever algorithm they have of the week and everything. So it's always fun with that. Let's thank our crew, though, beforehand about, joining us tonight, and thank them for being here just in general. Dave, you made it through the Geek Seat and the episode.
I did. Yay.
Anything you want to promote, sir?
Of course, you can always find me on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and specifically, we've been doing live watch parties.
Ooh.
So you'll find me in the middle of the night on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, Saturday mornings, technically. For that, we may have to skip an episode while I'm at the Calgary Comics and Entertainment Expo, but we'll see if that happens or not. Other than that, you can find me at therathole.ca and YouTube, therathole.ca.
Perfect. That sounds awesome, sir. And of course, let's thank our regulars. Ms. Mary Ogle, always wonderful to see you.
Oh, so exciting. Knew Who was back. Yay.
Yay. So that's right. We will be coming back to you for 8 weeks straight. Not every other week, just every week straight.
Well, that just scared everybody off.
Yep, exactly. True enough. Mary, any way people can find your artwork?
You can find my artwork at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike Gordon, we've made it through another one.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Always good to see you, my friend. Do you want to promote any of your work?
Sure. I can promote a few of the other podcasts I'm part of, one of which is Bat Chums, which we're reviewing the Batman 60 series, one episode at a time. We are midway through second season on that and having a lot of fun. Drew and I are. Also, the Dragon Con Report, which is coming up, the new episode, the March episode. Are we in March already? April. Oh, my goodness. April episode.
Time flies when you're having
coming
fun.
Is coming up pretty soon. I think we're recording that next week. And I've got a soft launch podcast that I'm just started called The New Legend Lounge, which is candid conversations with creators. We've got 2 episodes that are available on YouTube that you can check out as well. Soft launch on those, so please be gentle with us. We are not all the bells and whistles are together yet, but we're putting out some content.
Awesome. Sounds exciting stuff going on for you, my friend.
Yeah, well, I try to keep busy.
Of course, and
keep out of trouble.
On top of this episode of wonderful podcast of Earth Station Who, I'm also producing Tales from Hollywoodland, and this week we actually interviewed the woman of 1,000 voices, Marilyn Michaels, who has been around since the mid 1960s, and the stories she was telling us are just fascinating. And over on Julian Schlossberg's Movie Talk, this week we are talking to Lainey Kazan, actress and singer from, but she's, to our generation, she's mostly known as the mother from the Big Fat Greek Wedding movies. So it's pretty cool stuff. And, we got some pretty cool interviews coming our way, and, just take a peek. We're available wherever fine podcasts are found. And I don't have time right now for other podcasts to do. I'm just way too busy with a lot of other things in life. So, but we will have time always for you guys. And we are going to be back again next week when we are going to be looking at Lux. And this is the one I'm looking forward to because they go back to the 1950s and cartoons come to life.
All the early reviews on this are just absolutely stellar, so I'm super excited for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. On behalf of myself, Dave, Mary, and Mr. Gordon himself, Michael Gordon. It's pretty cool. We will see you all later, and be safe. Have a great week, and here's to new Doctor Who. Yay! Yay! Bye, everybody.
Yoo-hoo!
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
I love you. Bye.
Yes, you already.
You've been listening to Earth Station Who, a pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from throughout space and time. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individuals and are to be used for entertainment value alone. You can subscribe to our show wherever fine podcasts are found, or check out our website, earthstationwho.com. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and if you enjoyed the show, please write to us at feedback@earthstationwho.com. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you on the next journey of Earth Station Who.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.